welcome to Good Game Pocket Edition, your weekly wrap-up for gamers by gamers. I'm Barjo.
And I'm Hex. We have a big show today, Barjo, with two brand spanking new consoles to look at, the Xbox One and the PS4. Two big machines landing within a week of each other. That's a lot of tech, Barjo.
Indeed it is, Hex. We're also going to look at some of the launch games, of course, including Killzone, Shadowfall.
But before we talk PS4, let's look at the hefty Xbox One. It may be a big box, but this gives it the advantage of being able to run whisper quiet, unlike the launch 360s, which sounded like a panicking hairdryer. The controller feels familiar, but is also sporting a new trigger rumble. And the Kinect camera has had an HD upgrade to improve its video capture and response times. And it's cool that when you sit down, the Kinect recognizes you almost instantly. But voice commands can be pretty hit and miss.
Yeah, I think it was about 50-50 for me, but I always struggle with voice recognition. The new menus are really snappy and responsive. They have that Windows 8 Metro style to them, which isn't very pretty, but it's certainly functional. Multitasking is a big focus now. You can have your game on one side, and then by snapping, you can put web apps or video or even TV on the other side.
Okay, let's talk games. First up, Ryse, Son of Rome. This action-adventure title takes us all the way back to ancient Roman battlefields. You play Marius, a Roman general who strides stoically through this tale, fighting to claim justice for his family's murder. There are the usual doses of honor, betrayal, and revenge as he carves his way through arenas and battlefields. This really is just Gladiator the video game, but that was fine by me, and there's no denying it's a stunning showcase for the new hardware.
This game visits a healthy variety of locations, and I thought the combat had a really nice flow to it. There's an extensive XP system that lets you upgrade health, damage, or focus on the fly. But you always need to do the quick-time executions to collect the XP. And I found that a bit repetitive.
Yeah, those big battles and the formation stuff was a real highlight for me. Getting your soldiers into line, marching forward, then turtling up to protect yourself when a volley of arrows is fired. It's so quintessentially Roman and I loved it. Plus, sieges give you the chance to fire ballistae and send enemies crashing down by kicking away their ladders. It's like all the coolest stuff I remember from ancient history in high school turned into a video game. I gave it 8.5.
There's a lot I liked here. It's quite spectacular, but some of the repetition left me a little cold, so I gave it 7. And now it's time for the dead to rise. Dead Rising 3 takes its wacky brand of zombie genocide out of the shopping mall and into a small American city. The new hero is Nick, a mechanic who finds himself trapped inside a quarantine zone amidst the latest outbreak. His goal is simply to get out of town before the cleansing bomb lands.
The city does feel a little bit small and enclosed, but there are a lot of shops to explore. You can grab plenty of equipment and blueprints to make weapons. There are so many over-the-top weapons to build, and I love that you no longer need to find a workbench. Plus, the game's eclectic fashion accessories are more amusing than ever.
I ain't never seen anything like that before. What kind of freak are you?
Every time you save someone or complete a challenge, you get a PP boost, which is XP that you can use to unlock some of the extensive upgrades available to you. Plus, I like this game's twisted take on reality, even though it took a weird turn at times.
As long as they're outside, we got nothing to worry about.
There is a lot about the Dead Rising formula that I still find frustrating. Ultimately, this is a game of fetch quests, so I gave it 6.
I think fans will be pretty happy. I gave it 7. Okay, let's take a quick breather from next gen and don our catsuits for Super Mario 3D World. We've seen a string of Mario games in recent years, but this is the first proper 3D sequel since the Amazing Galaxy series. It takes the 4-player co-op we've enjoyed in 2D titles and injects it into a dizzying mix of creative 3D levels and power-ups.
With Mario's long and extensive history, there's a lot of nostalgia for this game to tap into. While we've criticised Nintendo in the past for recycling their ideas, this felt less like repetition and more like a greatest hits celebration.
But we do still get some new features like the catsuit power-up. It makes you more powerful with swiping combos and a pouncing attack. Adorable. Plus, you can claw a little way up walls, which comes in handy for nabbing secrets.
I was surprised how much I enjoyed this. I gave it 8.5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
I thought it was a real return to form, so I gave it 9. Okay, Barjo, before we talk PS4, we've got questions to answer.
Let's go.
Good game.
All right, well, it's our last question for the year, Badge, and it comes to us from Switchblade, who is in Newcastle, New South Wales. Hey guys, I've heard about Valve's Steam machines, and I would simply like to hear your thoughts on it.
Well, personally, I think it's exciting that Valve throw their hat into the battle for the TV screen with their own TV console hybrid machines. We have no idea what support will be like for them, but the idea of owning a console with my Steam library already attached to it is appealing.
Yeah, I just don't know what the market is for them. I mean, PC gamers tend to be pretty content with their PCs as they are.
And perhaps Steam machines are for the console gamer who wants a PC but doesn't want to go to the hassle of building one.
I think for me, at the moment, the most interesting thing is that controller. It just looks so odd, but apparently it works quite well, even for typically PC-only games like real-time strategy. Well, it's going to be an interesting few years to see what impact these boxes have, if any. But anyway, let's get to your review. And how about we see what people thought of the walk-em-uppery of the Stanley Parable?
Come, Stanley. Let's find the story.
Good idea, Hex, and it seems like it's either a love or hated experience, but most of you seem to love it. Like Klepto, who wrote, "Fascinating and utterly charming. I was chuckling the whole way through. 9 stars.
Likewise, Static Phase enjoyed it, saying, I don't know if I'd call it a game as such, but whatever it is, I love it. 9.5 stars.
While Jolly Bones here writes, "It's a terrible game." Wait, let me try that again. It's a perfect game. 10 out of 10.
I see what he did there. Dicematon seemed impressed as well, saying, if this game can make me press the same button for 4 hours on end, it can do anything. 9.5 stars.
But I guess it isn't everyone's type of game, as King Sora wrote, "Not my type of game." 5 stars.
Likewise, The Gamer said simply, do not like it. 2 stars.
While Tic Tacs here seem to be on a roller coaster of emotion, writing, "Awkward, so wired and stupid, but terrible and okay-ish. And awesome." 5 stars.
Well, an interesting range of reviews there, but I think on that note we're out of time, so back to the studio.
Back to the studio.
Good game.
Okay, Barjo, time to play with the PS4. Now, we didn't get as much time with the PS4 as we did with the Xbox One, but these are our early impressions. The console itself is a fair bit smaller than the Xbox. It's quite a slim, elegant design with the angles and the neon light. I have to say though, I find these teeny tiny touch-sensitive buttons infuriating though, Barjo.
Yeah, tiny buttons can go away. I know you can use the controller to turn this on and off, but I just like a good old-fashioned on-off button.
I'm really digging the new controller. Instead of the old rounded thumbsticks, the new ones have little ridges around the edges, which means no more sweaty thumbs slipping off them. Plus, they're a bit further apart so your thumbs don't knock together.
Plus, they've included a headset you can plug into the controller this time, which is a big deal for standardizing online chat. PS4 has finally caught up with a party chat system, so it's no longer game-specific. You can chat to friends no matter what they're doing on the console. There's also a touchpad on the face of the controller, which worked fine for swiping to activate things in-game.
And there's a light on it with different colours to denote different players in multiplayer, and some games will use it to signal waning health, that sort of thing.
It's a bit silly though, isn't it? Because you can't actually see the color when you're gaming, unless you hold the controller like that.
Yeah. I think it's also pretty cool that they've got a dedicated share button. I mean, nobody wants to jump through hoops to share screens and videos on social media, so I was glad to see it's nice and easy here.
You can also live stream your games or watch other people play, but we haven't been able to test that out fully.
Multitasking between games and menus is now super speedy. No need to reload the game every time you want to tweak a sound or display option.
One of the biggest features with the PS4 is remote play on the Vita. We took it for a quick spin in Killzone and it works great.
Yeah, it certainly makes the Vita more tempting now. We don't have the PlayStation 4 camera to test out, but we did try out some of the voice commands with the headset. PlayStation. It recognized the words we were saying most of the time, but it felt a lot slower than doing it with the controller, so I doubt I'd use it.
And finally, it will now cost you money to play games online with the PlayStation 4. You will have to subscribe to PlayStation Plus, but just like with Xbox One, you only need 1 account per console.
Well, that leads us nicely into the biggest launch title for the PlayStation 4, Killzone Shadowfall. The game deals with the ongoing conflict between the human-looking Vectans and the Helghast. They're the ones that look like space Nazis. There's an uneasy truce between the two races as they attempt to live together on the one planet.
Yes, neither side is happy about this truce, so there's a lot of guerrilla warfare on both sides of the war.
Sorry, sir, just a formality.
You pick up the gun of Lucas Kellen, a member of an elite group of soldiers called Shadow Marshals.
Sir, suspects are holed up in the room below.
Killzone has always been known for pushing visuals, and this is no exception. They've hit that perfect stylized balance between lighting and particle effects that adds a cinematic, film-like quality to the motion. And it's nice to see such a high level of detail too. This is such a beautiful game, and it's just such a shame that what you're actually doing in it, we've done a million times before. It feels so familiar.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's not bad by any means, but you can't point to any one aspect of it and say, wow, that's new. On the plus side, there's a good range of weapons. Like many shooters, it only lets you carry 2 guns at once, and this would be fine, except it never lets you put down your default machine gun. You're stuck with it for the whole game.
Yeah, I don't understand the point of that. It's such a strange game design decision, and the gun isn't even very good. My biggest gripe with the game, though, is the brainless enemies. There are even points in this game where I don't think the enemies even realized I was shooting them. Unfortunately, multiplayer wasn't live at the time of review, so we couldn't test that out, which is such a shame because we're hearing really good things. But as a single-player experience, this is adequate but unremarkable shooter, so I gave it 6.
I think the problem with Killzone is that it's just more of the same, really. And we're disappointed because, you know, we expect gameplay innovation with next gen, but this is still a solid shooter, so I gave it 7.
Good game.
Well, that's all the console hardware we could fit into our pockets for this week, but don't forget to tune in on Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. on ABC2 for our hour-long Christmas special. It's our last episode for the year, Barjo.
Hasn't it gone fast, Hex? We'll also have a look at some of the highs and lows of the previous console generation and hand out our annual Good Game Awards. We'll also review some games, including the new Zelda.
Well, at least there won't be any arguments over Game of the Year this year, because obviously it's The Last of Us.
Tomb Raider.
Really?
Obviously Tomb Raider.
Tomb Raider.
Until then, Barjo out.
Hex out.